So I was 12 years old, and I wanted to get some water, so I got out of bed, walked through the living room, and I stumbled on my mom and my stepdad having a conversation. And they were talking about how they didn't know what to do with me, and they thought maybe they should send me to a psychiatrist. Now, I was born in 1958, so I did not grow up where therapy was cool. I grew up in an era where you only went to therapy if it was the last resort. And when I heard them talking about sending me to a psychiatrist, I freaked out. I started screaming, "I'm not crazy! I'm not crazy! I'm not crazy!" And they were shocked that I was awake, and they didn't know what to do with me, freaking out. And so they said, "You don't have to go. You don't have to go." And I realized at that moment, it was one of my first moments of self-awareness, that I looked crazy, screaming, "I'm not crazy." And as I insisted, "You don't have to go, you don't have to go, we're just trying to help you," I just stopped and I had this epiphany. I might be crazy. And if I am, it will help me to know if I'm crazy. So I said, "No, I want to go. I want to go." So at the age of 12, I was an overachiever in psychosis. I remember looking at the ink blots and having this man who looked like Freud ask me the question, "What do you see?" And I thought to myself, I cannot tell him what I see, because if I can tell him what I see, he'll see inside of me. And they told me I was retarded, and there was a lot of evidence for that. I was a straight D student, 1st through 12th grade. I lived inside of an imaginary world. In fact, I would disappear into this world so deeply that in the middle of class, when the class was over, the teacher would give up trying to get my attention, and I would come to consciousness when everyone would be gone. I started having nightmares from the age of 5, where when I would wake up, the nightmares were still there. I still have them to this day. And when they began doing some studies of my mental condition, they began telling me that my brain is always awake and always asleep and has a difficult time distinguishing between the two. Now, I didn't get there by accident. It might be hard for you to tell, but I'm an immigrant from El Salvador. English was my second language. I never knew my real father, and my mother was one of the first stewardesses for Pan Am in the world. And so after I was born, she left me with my grandparents, and they began to raise me as my mom flew across the world trying to create a new world for us. And then she married someone who was involved in what we called creative underground economies. And he was running from a very tightly bonded Italian family in Chicago. And so he left from Chicago to Miami and needed a new identity. And my mom felt that she needed a father for her 2 boys in El Salvador, and he knew he needed a family as a new identity. And so they were married 3 weeks after they met. And then he took us to a police station and convinced the police that we'd been robbed and had no identification, and I walked out McManus that day. It is such an unusual thing to be Spanish and then walk out Irish. And I became fully committed to my Irish heritage. Notre Dame was my favorite football team. I wore green every chance I had an opportunity to just absolutely be proud of my Irish heritage. Now, my first name is Erwin, and as you might know, that's not Spanish either. It's not my name either. Because when I was around 9 or 10 years old, I was in El Salvador, and I asked my grandfather, "Papi, I need a good American name." Because you Americans treat people differently based on their names. And so Louis is a great name, and of course he's huge, so it doesn't really matter what he's called. But I had a different name, and it didn't go well. And so I asked my grandfather to give me a new name so that I could fit in better in America. And my grandfather had never been to the United States, and he did not speak English, and I don't know why I thought he would know. But my grandfather would never admit he didn't know anything. So he started walking around saying, "Un nombre pues. Este nombre tiene que ser un nombre de un líder. Un nombre de una persona con inteligencia." He started going, this name needs to be the name of a leader. He's the name of someone brilliant. Needs to be the name of someone who changes the world. He's missing the whole point. I just want to be called Brandon or Jason or some name that usually gets the girl on the TV show. And then my grandfather, who had been studying World War II history, decided to name me Erwin. He said, "Su nombre es Erwin." Latins can't even pronounce Erwin. And I said, "¿Qué, papi?" He said, "Erwin." And I said, "¿Qué?" And he started writing it down. I had never heard of the name Erwin. It sounds like a bacteria. I did not know what he was doing. And my grandfather named me after Hitler's general over North Africa, Erwin Rommel. So now I'm a Latino, Nazi, Irish kid. And so if you're here today and you've been struggling with your identity, get in line. I just turned 64 and I'm still in the middle of an identity crisis. And I can tell you to this day, I do not know who I am. But if I can convince you of two things in these brief moments, is that it is less important for you to know who you are than who you're becoming. See, being a human being is not a static experience. It is a dynamic experience. I remember once I was driving from Los Angeles to San Diego down the 5 freeway. My wife, Kim, called me, and she said, "Where are you?" And I said, "Honey, I can tell you where I've been, and I can tell you where I'm going, but I'm in constant motion, so the one thing I cannot tell you is where I am." She said, "Just shut up and tell me where you are." We try to understand ourselves as if we are static creatures. I don't know if you're ever supposed to know who you are, but you need to be clear about who you're becoming.